You don't need me to tell you, but the modern media landscape is in dire straits. It just seems to be crushing disappointment after crushing disappointment, and that goes for film, TV, video games. I just seem to find myself constantly let down by modern artists. I assume this has something to do with my own ridiculously high standards in entertainment, but when I was a kid growing up, the kind of films and television programs and video games and music that we were offered was so good. The modern equivalent just can't hold up. They just can't hit in the same way. It's increasingly hard to get excited about a show or a film these days. And so when something comes along where you think, wow, I might actually sit down and give that a go, that in itself is pretty much the event now, not the media itself. Not too long ago, I made a quick little trailer reaction to Ricky Gervais's then upcoming show for Netflix, Alley Cats. At the time, I said this. I'm feeling quite emotional, the fact that I'm actually looking forward to something again. Are you having a laugh? There's been a lot of hype around this show, both on traditional and social media. Ricky Gervais himself is particularly active, and you might say, well, of course he is. I mean, he's an artist trying to promote his work, and of course, fair play to him. But he's really posting a lot. He's really pushing this show a lot harder than I think he has for anything he's done, or certainly that's the way it comes across, which in itself is a little bit of a red flag. But I must say, I've been incredibly excited to watch this show. So, what did I think of Alley Cats? Well, I think we should talk about it. First things first, let me just reiterate that point because I can't stress it enough. I'm a huge Ricky Gervais fan. I've pretty much been with him since the start, back in the old XFM days. I used to eagerly tune in to listen to Ricky, Stephen Merchant and Carl Pilkington. And I've followed pretty much all of his TV shows since then. I vividly remember The Office coming out and Extras and, Idiot Abroad. I love his stand-up shows. I think Animals is possibly the finest British stand-up special ever. And honestly, I think he's the only British comic worth listening to, working today. When I made that trailer reaction I mentioned earlier, I posted it to X, and the official Ricky Gervais X account liked it. And I must admit, I got all of a flutter when he did that. Oh, Mr. Gervais. After all, I mean, he is a man that is responsible for some of the truly greatest British comedic moments of all time. And let's face it, we've had quite a few, haven't we, in this country? I'm also a huge cat lover. I've always had cats, and I think they're truly amazing creatures. As we are joined by my cat. I lost my train of thought now.
A few moments later.
But not only that, I'm a huge admirer of old school animation, stuff that clearly went into inspiring this work, like things like Garfield, definitely Top Cat. I love Top Cat. But I even got sort of Danger Mouse and Banana Man vibes from the trailer reaction. So I think I can safely say that I am definitely a core member of the target audience. And my missus has a Netflix account, so that goes a long way as well. Before I get into my actual review, my actual thoughts on the show itself, let's take a little look into how it was made. So this one's from the One Show and the man himself.
And you mentioned the cast, Ricky. Lots of your friends, as you say, Kerry Godliman, who of course from Afterlife, Diane Morgan, Natalie Cassidy, there you all are.
Yeah, I want it to be like that sort of gang, like podcast feel, because I've done a lot of animations, I've done films, I've done series, and it's usually just you alone in a booth, sort of fitting in with what, there's no feel, it's all someone else doing it.
So immediately then, that is a massive indicator for someone like me that this should be a show that you're interested in. It's got a podcast vibe, which podcasting and Ricky Gervais go hand in hand, don't they? I mean, the Ricky Gervais show is probably one of, if not the biggest podcast, I would imagine. It had such a big following worldwide. And it was one of the original podcasts, wasn't it? It was one of the original, big successful shows. So that sounds great. Build an ensemble cast of people that Ricky's worked with successfully previously, and let that chemistry kind of ring out.
Do you like it when people ad-lib, when they're throwing their own ideas?
I love it, and when you get into the cold light of day in the edit, you usually keep to the script, but you've gone off on so many tangents, it's there, those flights of fancy you cut down. Sometimes we'd go on one thing for 20 minutes because we're enjoying it so much.
Now that sounds great, doesn't it? That sort of ad-lib, giving that ensemble cast that you have chemistry with, giving them room to experiment and take it off in different places. That sounds like it could be really, really good.
But the thing is about this, Ricky, like all of your shows, really funny, but then really warm moments in it as well.
Yeah, I just wanted people to love the cat, so it's quite existential. It's about these cats. They live such short lives and they sort of know it, and they want to pack everything in, and it's true in real life. I want my cat to have the best life possible.
So that all sounds pretty good, doesn't it? That sounds like fans of Ricky Gervais will be pretty excited to watch Alley Cats. And that's where I found myself going into this show. I will say the only red flag for me was the notion that there's improv involved in this, because I really don't like improv. For me, it belongs in awkward late-night comedy shows. It's quite a cringy art form. It's very hit and miss, in my opinion. I think the exception to that sort of ad-lib improv being terrible rule is Curb Your Enthusiasm, which was an absolute phenomenon. So with that all said, I suppose I better tell you what I thought of the show. It was truly, truly terrible.
Absolutely fucking awful.
It was one of the worst shows I think I've ever seen. It was really low energy. It was really boring. There were no real storylines. Any kind of frame or structure that an episode has was pretty pointless, because the dialogue didn't stick to anything. It didn't really drive any point home. It didn't take you on a journey, and it didn't develop any sort of character arcs or anything like that. It was really, really badly done.
Good point.
I only watched 3 episodes because that's all I could stand. It was truly one of the worst shows I've ever seen. There are no jokes. There are no humorous elements. There are no real sketches or even sitcom-based elements, apart from the fact that most episodes start and end in the same place, in the gang's little den. The improv is terrible. Clearly, Ricky Gervais has very little or no chemistry with anyone he worked with on this show, which is incredible to say, given that he's worked with them and had a lot of success in the past. The improv, like the show, lacked any kind of direction, and the cast, as previously stated, are just not good at it. To be honest, I'm not blaming them for that, because improv is a very niche skill. It's the kind of thing that you don't expect an actor necessarily to have. A stand-up, you would probably like them to have some kind of improv skill, because they're going to have to ad-lib at points and work crowds and work energy. Didn't get that from anyone. Didn't think anyone did particularly well at any stage. Of the 3 episodes I saw, like I said, I couldn't manage anymore. The characters are all really obnoxious, really detestable, cowardly, morally bankrupt. I didn't like any of the storylines. That there was no real arc to anyone. You think of Gervais's character in Extras, you think of Afterlife. Those are characters that aren't necessarily morally correct, but you still care about them. You still care about the journey that they go on. With Alley Cats, the dialogue is so fast and the characters come in and out so quickly that you can't care about what any of them say. You can't care about any direction that they're going, and you can't really care about any of the sort of through lines throughout the story. There's no one to admire in the show. There's no one to hate in the show. There's just nothing. Every character is bland. And so if we don't have any characters that are likable, how are we, the audience, supposed to admire anyone, root for anyone, and care about any of the characters? It's just bad. It's just really badly done. Everything is so predictable. For instance, the cat that uses the grave as a litter tray. Everything he talks about is basically he's going to have sex with whatever it is, whether it's a rodent or an inanimate object. I'm not pearl clutching here. I don't want anyone to think that I'm offended by what I saw. I wasn't offended at all. And perfectly good subject matter for comedy. Honestly, it's just terribly done. And it reminds me a lot of another comedy show that I reviewed last year on my channel, a show that I hated for its lack of jokes and its lack of humour. A show that, like Alley Cats, it relied on what I like to call the last bastion of the desperate comic. That show was the disastrous Mitchell and Webb Are Not Helping. I'll put a link to the video I made on that in the description. Back to Alley Cats. The only real attempt at humour in this show, as previously stated, is the last bastion of the desperate comic. And that's to swear and swear and swear again.
Shout, shout, and shout again!
Swearing can be funny when done well. When used correctly, it can make a joke land. It can make an unfunny situation funny, and it can even be the joke when it's done well, when it's done correctly. But just like a certain type of person overusing the notion of the mid-century Germans to describe their political opponents, if you use it all the time, if you say it in every other breath, then it loses all meaning. It loses any kind of bite or any kind of spite that you might want to invoke. And that really is the case with Alley Cats as well, because when a C-bomb, when an F-bomb could really make a joke land or could really make that unfunny situation funny, you've heard those words so many times by that point that they just lose all meaning. They lose all impact. And so what that results in is just words washing over you and scenes washing over you, entire storylines and character arcs and things just washing over you to the point where you completely forget them. Which leads me to the next point, which is that aspect I think that Ricky is getting more and more, I don't want to say hate, because I don't think it's hate, but sort of criticism in particular is this overly emotional, pulling at your heartstrings thing. It's becoming synonymous with Gervais and his work, and it's particularly jarring in this show, which, like I've just mentioned, is full of fast pace, full of swear words, full of obnoxious characters treating each other obnoxiously. You don't really care for anyone. You don't really care about what they're talking about. And so when the dialogue moves so quickly and so pointlessly and so weightlessly through a scene, you get hit by these emotional moments. They just happen. It's like a comet impact almost. It's like, bang, it hits you like a car crash because it's so far out of left field for the first episode and then kind of for the second episode. And then by the third episode, it becomes such a formula that you're like, oh God. Like I say, it's just a terrible show. And I mean, I could go on. There are tons of technical problems with this show. The audio is all over the place. You can tell that the cast are in a big room talking to one another and that sometimes one of them talks up here like this, so the kind of audio goes bad, and then they come back over here and you can tell, like, obviously that's an exaggerated version of what happened, but that certainly is what happened. Fine in a podcast, and from that clip, Gervais said that he wanted it to be conversational. He wanted it to be like a podcast. The problem is that when this is an animated show, those audio levels are jarring. They pull you out of the immersion. At no point are you rooted in this show. At no point are you allowed to sit in this show with these characters and try to sort of like them and try to appeal with, try to allow them to appeal to you. It's just badly done.
Pathetic.
Is it?
I tell you what Alley Cats feels like. It feels like a contractual obligation. It feels like something that Gervais had to do in order to get X amount of comedy specials or X amount of extra shows or whatever. It really doesn't feel like a genuine attempt to entertain. And when you pair it with this article from The Hollywood Reporter, Ricky Gervais pitches animation debut Alley Cats at Annecy Masterclass. I could make this forever. It really doesn't bode well for Gervais fans, particularly this paragraph here. I don't have to do hair and makeup. I don't have to get up early, Gervais said about playing the chubby foul-mouthed tabby Gus in his new Netflix animated series Alley Cats. The cats never get old, so I get older and fatter. I can sit in a chair and continue to make this forever. I really, really hope not, Ricky, because this is a terrible show. And it pains me to say that, being such a Gervais fan. It really does not feel good to be against the big man himself, because he is one of our comic greats. He is one of our comic geniuses. Probably, as I said at the beginning, the only comic working on the scene today worth paying any attention to. All this show does is firmly indicate that the days of Dickie Anders, Monkey News, Les Dennis making a fool out of himself, David Brent dancing around like an idiot, and all those other truly golden moments of comedy that Gervais has given us over the years are firmly a thing of the past. And what a shame that really is. So I'll leave it there, but please do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you've seen Alley Cats, what did you think? Did you think it was funny? Did you think it was terrible? Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you like this video, and please do consider subscribing for more. I will see you in the next one.